The future of Master Duel is looking grim for some people, especially those who absolutely despise DPE, because this is only going to trigger you harder. The branded engine is almost here. Now let's just get to some combos to show what this engine can truly accomplish. Alright, so the first replay we're going over is one where we use one card in order to access a very powerful boss monster, Mirror Jade the Ice-Plated Dragon. And all you need to do is use Branded Fusion, really broken. It's basically Shaddoll Fusion on steroids, and you know how good Shaddoll Fusion is. So let's go ahead and use it. First of all, we're going to go ahead and activate the effect of Branded Fusion in order to fusion summon a monster that mentions Albaz in its name by sending materials directly from deck to graveyard. And we're going to summon the Albion Branded Dragon, and we're going to need a light monster as well as Albaz in our deck. In this small deck, we're running Hex Sealed Fusion, but if you run something like Witchcrafters, then go ahead and use whatever works there. Or any monster that's advantageous in the graveyard, like for example, a Chaos Lightsworn deck, or something like Dragon Link. So then after that, we're going to go ahead and activate the effect of the Albion, and we're going to go ahead and fusion summon into another monster immediately on its fusion summon by banishing itself and Albaz, and then ending on Mirror Jade the Ice-Plated Dragon, pass. Now, why is this so powerful off of just one singular card? Well, basically, Mirror Jade has two parts to it. Number one, you can basically banish one monster your opponent controls, non-targeting, quick effect during their turn, by sending a monster that mentions Albaz as fusion material from your extra deck to the graveyard. And the only downside is that you can't use it during the immediate turn after, which doesn't really matter since you're using it on your opponent's turn most of the time, and then on your turn you're barely going to use it, so then by the time it's live again, it's ready to disrupt. And second, it can Raigeki your entire opponent's end board if they get rid of it by any sort of card, whether battle or card effect. However, what the kicker is that it's during the end phase. So basically, either your opponent has an effect that protects from destruction already, like a Sunvine Sowing, or they have to negate it almost immediately, which means that your opponent has to negate it and it soaks up negates like crazy, which is very, very valuable. But yeah, that's pretty much the crux of what the basic branded engine can do. And the basic branded engine consists of pretty much just 5 cards in your main deck, and you can really toggle the cards in your extra deck, but essentially you're gonna mainly just use, 2 copies of Mirror Jade and 3 copies of Albion. It really depends, I'm not sure of the optimal ratios, and yes, you can use Verte Anaconda with Branded Fusion. And because Mirror Jade requires just any extra deck monster in general, plus an Albaz, you can pretty much just use Verte as one of the materials, since Branded Fusion does not restrict you from just the deck or from the hand, and it can use the field as well, which is absolutely nuts. You need to run a light target, which could already be in your deck. You need to run Albaz, he's basically the only brick in the deck, but he's also a super poly in situational situations, so it's not that bad, and 3 copies of Branded Fusion, which is absolutely broken if you top deck it. Next up, we're going to go into an extended version of the branded engine that uses some Despia cards, and we can use 2 cards, one to discard and one Branded Fusion, in order to do pretty much the same thing as before, but with an extra bit of spice. So let's go ahead and see what we do this time. We also have added some extra monsters to the extra deck, as I will go over later. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Branded Fusion. It's pretty simple, but we're going to send Despian Tragedy and Albaz in order to summon Lubellion. Now, Lubellion does the exact same thing as the Albion, however, it shuffles from your graveyard, etc., vice versa, back into the deck or extra deck, depending on what the monster is, by discarding 1 card instead of banishing, which is super helpful for deck recursion. So we're going to go ahead and then activate the effect of the Lubellion first, and then the Tragedy right afterwards. And this is important. You would normally think, oh, because Tragedy is a search effect, you would want to chain link it first to chain block, but actually, you want Lubellion going off as soon as possible. And while I don't know what effect can chain to Lubellion to stop it, that's like a hand trap, it's still very useful to do this anyways. It's just good practice, I think. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and do that and add a copy of Aluber Boober Doober, and also go ahead and fusion summon into our Mirror Jade by using Lubellion and an Albaz, putting them both back into the deck, and now we put Mirror Jade on the field. And then, additionally, we're going to go ahead and normal summon Albaz, and Aluber Boober Doober, and we're going to search for a Branded in red, and then we're going to go ahead and set that card and pretty much pass. What this allows us to do is that it allows us to quick effect retrieve a Despia or an Albaz from our graveyard to our hand, and then if we can fusion summon using cards in our hand, field, or graveyard as a quick effect in order to summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster. I made a mistake, it doesn't use the graveyard, it's only hand or field, but regardless, that's still a pretty nutty effect. And you might be familiar with this monster if you fought against the recent iterations of Despia and Master Duel, because we're basically going to go ahead and summon Guardian Chimera on our opponent's turn with the Branded in red by retrieving the Despian Tragedy, banishing all those guys, and summoning the Guardian Chimera, who can then pop 2 cards your opponent controls and then also draw 1 because you used 1 material in the hand and 2 materials on the field, which is basically what Guardian Chimera's effect is. And because we have a copy of Tragedy using its effect because it's banished, we can search for any Despia card. You could search for a Dramaturge, you could search for Ad Libitum, you could search for another Aluber Boober of Duber. Pretty much the possibilities are endless. However, that's pretty much the gist of it. And this is the basic branded engine I used in that replay. We're still playing our basic 5 cards here, but we're going to be adding a couple copies of Lubellion and Guardian Chimera, both cards you want to use pretty frequently, and we're also adding 3 copies of Aluber Boober Duver because it can search for Branded Fusion, 3 copies of Branded Opening because it can discard 1 on resolution of the effect to then special summon or add from deck to hand an Aluber Boober Duver, 2 Branded in reds because it allows us to fusion summon on our opponent's turn, and also 2 copies of Tragedy because it helps us get more advantage by searching, and also it was used in our Lubellion combo. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same, and you can slap this into any deck that pretty much has the room for this, and doesn't mind giving up its regular plays for 1 turn only to then just go into fusions. Like, for example, you could use this in Mutants. I genuinely see that seeing play. But anyways, this is going to come to fruition in Master Duel within, I'd say, the next 2 months by October, since the next patch will probably have the Marincess cards, which I'm super excited for, and then we're going to get the branded cards, probably. I'm going off the leaks that were on Master Duel from the last August maintenance, but yeah, pretty much, that's what it is. I'm pretty damn excited because I'm building Despia right now on a different account. I'd be pretty excited for this, but I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. I hope I've helped you in your conquest to learn more about Master Duel. Peace.